Good morning. Let me go ahead and apologize for being so late yesterday notifying of this meeting, but at 10 to 5 I had nothing, and at 5 minutes to 5 we had something. It's mostly Senate bills, so it's not much of something, but y'all bow with me. Gracious Heavenly Father, again we come asking you to forgive us of our sins, to lead us and guide us, to let us do things that are pleasing to you. We ask that you be with our family, not just God's family, but this family here. Be with us. Keep your hand on us. Let us have a good day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, for those of you who are visiting from the Senate, what we would like for you to do is when you come up here to the little podium, tell us your name, name, rank, and serial number. Remember, brevity means a lot with me. Even Mr. Oh, I'm sorry. We can start now. Weldon's here. And what we'd like to know is who is carrying your bill in the House. Mr. Wilkinson, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'd like to request Senate Bill 81, which shortens the harvesting season for ginseng. This is a bill that DNR requested. Currently, the harvesting season begins on August 15th and goes until the end of the year. This would move that date from August 15th to December the 1st. The reason for this, the berries have to be replanted at the time the root is harvested, and those berries aren't ripe by August 15th many times, and this would help ensure the sustainability of the crop. I'm sorry, I don't think I did my name, rank, and serial number. I apologize. John Wilkinson, State Senator, District 50.
Okay, now start again. What?
And I have asked Representative Jaspers to carry this bill in the House.
Anybody have any questions? Mr. Ramsey.
I wasn't aware we had ginseng farmers in Georgia. What part of the state, and how many ginseng farmers do we have in Georgia?
Most of them are located in the northern part of the state. They do have to get a permit, and there are 14 dealers at the current time. And the DNR regulates the harvest in the state, but the United States, I believe Forestry and Wildlife Service regulates the export. And the export is a big part of this business. You know, they harvest, they dry the root, and I think that they get about $300 a pound for the dried root. So this will keep them in line with the federal regulations.
Mr. Lindsay.
Thank you, Senator, for coming. For those of us who are not from agricultural areas, it probably would be helpful for us to understand why the government has to regulate when you can harvest a crop.
We had this question, and the answer to that is, like I said, the federal government regulates the export, and the export is a big part of this business, and our dealers have to get a permit, and if we don't meet the federal standards, and they've requested that, our dealers will not be able to export their crop.
It'd probably be helpful for Representative Jasper to be ready for that question on the floor, because I'm sure a lot of us from non-agricultural areas are going to want to know the answer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Pro Tem.
Thank you. Senator, is it because it's a wild product and it's not cultivated in a
It does grow wild, and there have been problems with sustainability.
Okay, so it's like, the analogy would be we regulate hunting seasons because they're wild animals that could be over hunted and exploited, and this is true with this. It just happens to be a plant.
Yeah, that's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait a second, I'm sorry. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the whip's question, we have a sister city relationship with a city in China, Hinesville does, and could well be because it's such a highly regarded aphrodisiac in China. There's much room for the black market, and there is a big black market for ginseng.
I'm not even going to go there, you know.
Have you personally sampled it?
My answer to that question, what it's used for, cosmetics, energy drinks. Okay.
There's no more little marks on this machine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Glanton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I don't know how I follow that, but certainly, Mr. Chairman, I come to you this morning trying to score a 2-point takedown on House Resolution 410. Again, House Resolution 410 is a resolution urging the International Olympic Committee to reconsider its decision to ban wrestling from the Olympic Games after 2016.
Questions? It's not on your blue sheet. It should be. It's on your yellow sheet, but it's not on your blue sheet. And that's my bad. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Gooch.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I have 7 bills, but I would like to talk about 4, if I may. My first 2 bills dealing with death, and the last 2 bills dealing with taxes. So the coroner's bill is a bill that would be of interest to a lot of coroners in our state. It's Senate Bill 226. By the way, I'm from the 51st District, which is, my home is downtown Dahlonega, Georgia. I'm the chairman of the Transportation Committee. 226 is a bill that basically clarifies the code section dealing with coroners and their salaries and their fees. Current law allows coroners to collect a salary based on the size of the community. Some county coroners only collect $100 a month. Some collect $300 a month. But they also get an investigative fee for deaths and when they go out to investigate a homicide or whatever. So they get $175 per case. There was 2 subsections in the 2 code sections that were contradicting one another, and this clarifies that. It also adds a section that if there's a local act in place, then the coroner would have to choose one of the 2. They couldn't do both, and they would have to notify the counties prior to the end of the fiscal year, prior to the beginning of the next fiscal year. ACCG and the Coroners Association both worked on this bill, and they both agreed to it and support it 100%.
Questions? Next.
Senate Bill 83 is another case dealing with death. Currently in counties, indigent people who die who have no means, and their families have no means of burying their kinfolk, go to the counties, and the counties are required by law to give them a decent burial. The term decent is somewhat subjective. So the cost can range anywhere from $500 up to thousands of dollars. Nowhere in the code section does it give the option of cremation. This change in the code section allows the counties to use cremation as an alternate method of interment. So that's the only change in this bill, sir.
Mr. Weldon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. If you could tell me what the expected cost for cremation is going to be.
Well, most counties, being the former county commissioner, I can tell you what we did in our county. We set a policy every year. We would spend maybe up to $500 for a burial. The counties can do the same thing on cremation. And so, the counties may opt to go as low as 250, some may say 500, some may say 1,000. It's simply up to them as to what they're allowed to pay or what they're willing to pay. And then the funeral homes would have to work out a deal with the families to pay for the rest of that.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, one further question. Do you know what the cost for cremation is going to be, just strictly for the cremation? Or what is expected?
I don't know. I've never had to pay for one, but I understand it's cheaper than a burial. So this is a cheaper method than the burial method.
Thank you.
Next one.
Senate Bill 218 is a bill dealing with wreckers and emergency tow trucks on the interstates and on state highways. It increases the weight load on axles. It allows these big tractor and trailers and big heavy trucks and buses to be towed by emergency vehicles and not be in excess of the weight limitations on our roadways. We're told that some wrecker drivers have been cited by the Department of Public Safety for being overweight when they're pulling these trucks. We're simply trying to get these wrecked vehicles off the interstate and open the roads back up for less congestion. So I would ask for your consideration on that. And the chairman of your Transportation Committee here, Mr. Roberts, will be carrying that bill.
Any questions? Next one.
Senate Bill 70 is a design build bill for the DOT. It's called Best Value. Nearly every state in the United States already adopted this procedure years ago. The only states other than Georgia that do not have it are Indiana and Pennsylvania. It basically allows for the DOT to accept proposals from contractors and not necessarily have to accept the lowest bid. Price is weighted. The price on a particular proposal may be weighted at 80%, but other topics and other concepts of the proposal could give it enough weight and consideration that the lowest bid is not always accepted and may not be the best proposal that the state needs. So this opens that code section up and allows for the DOT to have that discretion. DOT will have criteria for each proposal that goes out, and the board members that we elect will oversee that along with the management at DOT.
Mr. Hamilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To my friend from Dahlonega, just a curiosity. I was just curious as to whether it was by accident or strategy that you chose a freshman to carry your 2 death bills and 2 chairmen to carry your 2 tax bills.
No accident. But Chairman Hamilton knows that the 2 chairmen that are carrying these bills are very aware of the DOT background, and they know that topic very well. And the representative that's going to carry the 2 death bills is a former county manager, so he's very, very qualified to carry those 2 bills as well. But thank you for that question.
Mr. Willard.
In a serious vein, Senator.
Yes, sir.
I noticed you removed on line 82 of the bill the provision dealing with having more than one person express back to the department an interest in. Is there a reason we're going to take that out? Or we're trying to find competitive parties to give the information to the department?
Yes, sir. I can give you a scenario that might help illustrate why we would do that. If 3 or 4 companies made a proposal for a particular project, and it became clear to those 3 companies that one of them weren't going to be accepted for several different various reasons, they could possibly jeopardize the whole process by just withdrawing their bid. And that would require us to go back through that entire proposal process all over again, which by this point, the department has probably incurred several $100,000s in expenses and overhead. So this simply keeps somebody from jeopardizing the process and sabotaging what could be a good proposal that we want to move forward with. Somebody could be a spoiler and just say, I'll withdraw my bid. Therefore, you're only left with 2 bids, and therefore you have to throw them all out and start all over again. Could take another year to go back through that bid cycle and proposal again. So we'd like to give the discretion to the board at DOT and the management over there. And I'll also say, if I may, every year the department will give a report to this body and to the Senate committee chairman and to the transportation committees of both chambers, so we can review those processes and look at all the proposals that are given.
That follow-up, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
What will we have in place, Senator, as far as encouraging multiple parties, though, to give a response to the request from the department?
In my experience being on the DLT board, we don't have a lack of proposals being offered. We have an abundance of proposals on just about everything we ever do. I believe this proposal, this bill will encourage more participation because it creates opportunities for people to be creative and think out of the box. It doesn't box them in to bid only on what we're specifying. We basically, the DOT will give a scope of a project. For example, they may build an off-ramp or an interchange project, and we will allow contractors to go out and hire their own engineers and their own designers, and they come back with these plans and say, this is what we'd like to envision this project to look like. Well, if you have 6 or 8 different proposers up there making 5 or 6 different layouts, then the DOT can go through each one of them and score them based on their merits, and also the price would also be a consideration. It would be weighted heavily as well. So we think it'll create a better project, and it'll be a more efficient project, and hopefully it'll be a cheaper project because it'll be built quicker and on time.
Mr. Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Isn't it true, Mr. Chairman, that one, GDOT still doesn't have to take that bid? They can go back and say, you need to go back and figure or put it back out again.
That's correct.
And two, also, there are situations sometimes where you don't have 2 bids on the project. It may be a project that's so massive, whatever it may be, that you don't have enough qualified bidders that comes in, and by the fact that you only have 1 bid, now you can't move forward with a project. This just allows the GDOT that discretion that several other agencies within the state has already.
That's correct. That's correct. CERTA's already doing it, and I believe GBA is doing it. Several state agencies are already implementing this procedure. We're just now getting around to it at the DOT.
Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this is a question on one of the Senator's other bills.
Go ahead.
Senator, on SB 83, line 11 tells when you would do a cremation. Problem I've heard from some coroners, particularly my coroner, is that when there's a nursing home person who's been in a nursing home a long time, immediate family has lost contact, when can they take action? And they've had a point where they have cremated, and then a family member is found and said, I didn't want my loved one cremated, I could have paid for a funeral. Why is there not a time, or is it in the code a time when they're released and able to take action?
That's an interesting question. I would say to you that in most cases, in my experience and talking to other counties around the state, usually there's a family member around or that has been contacted. The coroners try to find the family members, the closest of kin, to notify them of the death, and then they're given the opportunity to discuss what their burial request would be. Up until now, it's always been a proper burial or a decent burial. Sometimes that's, it's not the easiest method, because if someone doesn't have family, then they're going to be buried either in a cemetery in the city or somewhere out in the community in a rural area, and there's a good chance that nobody will ever come visit that tomb or that grave again ever. So if the person's cremated, I understand that the crematories will keep the remains in a bag, and they'll be tagged. The identity of the person will be tagged in that bag, and there'll be 3 or more bags of cremation and ashes put in a tomb somewhere in that facility, either in a crematory or in a grave site somewhere. So there is a method for how the crematories are handling that. I don't have the experience or the know-how to know how every situation will be dealt with, but I'm sure with the local governments being involved, they'll make the best decision they can at the time based on the information they have. But at some point, a decision has to be made. What do you do with the person that's dead? If there's no family members around, then you go to the courts and make sure there's not a will or something that would address on what their remains are to be done with. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but it's the best answer I can give you.
Ms. Sheldon.
Yes, ma'am. It only pertains to the design build portion of the code section, and there is a cap on how many projects can be issued through design build each year. And it's based on a percentage. The cap is 50%, but we have not reached anywhere near that potential. But there's several good projects that are in the short-term plans in the DOT that we would try to use this method for, and I think we could get a better product by using this method. Like we said, other states have done it. Indiana, Pennsylvania, and Georgia are the only three that do not implement it at this time.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Calster.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, and Bill Calser, Senate District 46. I bring Senate Bill 193. It's under your modified open rule calendar there. This is a uniform act. It's referred to as the Uniform Interstate Family Support Act. It's supported by the State Bar of Georgia, their family law section. It's to bring us into conformity with other states' procedures for either child support, child custody type orders, to enforce those and collect those when they were entered in a foreign jurisdiction, and that can be either another state other than Georgia or actually foreign countries as well. I don't think it's very controversial. Representative Quick has agreed to carry it here in the House.
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask about Resolution 532. This question to U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to utilize adaptive management techniques to regulate lakes. Those up Savannah River Basin, Gold River, you've got Lake Marl, Lake Russell, and Parks Hill. For several years, we've had a drought situation, and it's very questionable about the Corps' management techniques. All it does is it just makes a request to them. They start looking at this, looking at the economic impact that those lakes have on economic development.
Any questions, Mr. Powell? Ms. Sims.
Request House Resolution 218. It simply asks the superintendents of the school to instruct the teachers to teach the Constitution.
I heard her. And I'm sure Matt did, maybe nobody else, but Ms. Hughley.
Just a quick question of Ms. Sims. Is this a separate subject, or will it be incorporated like it is now?
It already exists in our curriculum, in our education curriculum. This is simply asking to be sure that this is taught in the school.
Okay.
Okay, that's it. All right, this is for tomorrow. HR under modified open, HR 218. Any discussion? It's on. Under modified open, HR 410. Any opposition? Under modified open, HR 532. Any opposition? It's on. Modified open, SB 81. we need that ginseng bill passed. And Mr. Jaspers will be carrying that bill for Pickens County. Got ginseng and guns up our way. Under modified open, SB 193. Any opposition? We'll put it on. And then since the chairman of the Rules Committee in the Senate was gracious to some of our members the other day, and since Mr. Lindsay hadn't done anything for a while, SB 61. Any opposition?
It's modified open, so it is modified open, so if someone wants to tweak it,
We'll try our best to make sure that most of the bills stick to the modified open side. From here on, there are going to be some modified structures, but right now that'll be it. Ms. Abrams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did have some questions about the bill. On line 82.
Wait just 1 second, since we're going to get Mr. Lindsay to find 82, since he knows all about the bill. Yes, sir.
Line 82. Can you speak to why we're shortening the date for payment being due?
Yeah, this was a compromise that was worked out in the Senate between 10 and 5, went to 7 days. The concern is the leverage that the owners of these facilities have is the ability to, quite frankly, the payments are not made within a certain period of time after notice is given, to be able to lock the facility in order to get the person to come and work out a payment. Probably to be more time you allow, the more time after the rent is past due for that person to simply come in and just take everything out and not take their rent. And this was a compromise that was worked out in the Senate over the day.
Just for everybody's, we put Mr. Lindsay in a bad spot there.
That's fine.
It's not his bill, it's Mr. Stone's. And again, to the minority leader, when it goes on the floor, you'll have the opportunity to ask any other questions that you might, but I think it's a disadvantage to Mr. Lindsay that since he hadn't had the chance.
I'm on the committee, Mr. Chairman. And we did hear we did raise the same questions in committee, and that was the compromise, and that was the explanation that was given in the committee, that this was, the industry wanted 5, the present law is 10, they worked out a compromise at 7, and the industry and consumer advocates basically agreed that, okay, that should be enough time to provide adequate notice and not have someone simply come in and loot out their storage unit and, quite frankly, take away what little leverage the storage owner has in terms of getting paid their rent.
At this time of the year, up in my office, things are a little bit funny for the next 2 or 3 days as far as what comes out of our committees. And again, both the next bill that I'm going to put on there also came out of judiciary, and I figured with all my lawyer friends that sit here and sit on that committee, we ought to be able to answer some questions, but I don't want to get anyone, since they're not here, and particularly, I'll go ahead and, with that said, modified open SB 66. I think it would be good for the committee if you would do so.
Chairman Willard, on the second part, the first part of the bill simply increases the penalty for contempt of court. The maximum penalty for contempt of court has been $500 for 30 years. With the rate of inflation, perhaps lawyers need a little bit more incentive to behave themselves in court. And so we're going to raise the maximum penalty for contempt of court from $500 to $1,000. If you've been looking for an opportunity to whack a lawyer around on the floor, this would be the one to do it.
Do I hear a move on 66? Any opposition? You got a question, Ron? Thank you. That's plenty for now. Thank you.